Okay. Okay. So what is this right here? Should we keep that? You just want to move the board out of your way, George? Uh-oh, it says 3 minutes over here. It's more so you, because you're doing things for you. I'll just have to lean up. Oh yeah, there you go. Watch this, watch it. Thank you. You want your ears things on? If you slide this over, it can get closer out of your way so you can move around. Curtis, can you turn his towards him? Yeah, that way. There we go. It's not too much worry about me. It's his show. It's his people. Okay. And everything is ready, right? You watching it? Okay. Does it have his name and my name on there too? Okay, great. Yes, that's what we want to see. Yes. All right, here we go. Welcome to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. You have tuned in to the Eyes of the Conscious Soul with Sistah Mellow and Mr. George Pearson every first Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. We have Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, where we have artist talk. We showcase musicians, poets, singers, dancers, film producers, authors, comedians, gospel, and R&B rappers from around the Bay Area to across the globe. They will share their creative process and their lived experience. The second part of the corner is Why I Dream. We highlight and honor the inventions and creative work of today's brilliant mind, along with geniuses from the past. We are preserving African American history and culture in order to keep our legacy alive. On the third part of the corner is Why She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This is where you will hear from individuals sharing their personal testimonies to what the Lord has done for them and their lives and is doing for them, which is an inspirational messages. Also, we are highlighting golden lights, affirmations to impact healing medicine in the soul of the brilliant minds of today. Every second Saturday of the month, which is today, you have the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson, physician assistant, and a PIS is his credentials. So with that, this is where We believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness. Healthy eating habits is what we exhibit, and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month, we have Education is the Best Medicine, hosted by Mr. George Pearson, founder and producer of Education is the Best Medicine, is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is community based, health education, no base, advocacy based, and a source resource based organization that uses public media, radio, newspapers, and church based community health fairs to provide health and education. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. The fourth corner, excuse me, the fourth Saturday of the month. To get back in the swing of things, vacation. Boy, I tell you, the kitchen table with Sister B. Mellow and George Pearson. We have real talk conversations with individuals, organizations, community leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area to across the globe, talking about the beautiful things that they're doing in their community. Oh my God, that is a mouthful, but we have to make sure that we share the information of why we are here on air. So again, I just want to thank you personally, Mr. Pearson, for holding it down. I hadn't been here since maybe a month and a half, but I want to say thank you. Kudos to you. A little.
Make it happen, Captain.
Well, I can say our Juneteenth was a success. Okay. Woo! And then, going on retreats and vacations for work and all that kind of good stuff, trying to get myself back together. But it's all good. Okay. It feels good being in here. So,
well, I wanted to say thank you for getting back safe, and family getting back safe, and taking back the reins of your.
I know we're in this together. We tag team.
And so I have to say that what brought this to my attention, I guess, was a discussion around appetite. And
as you know, I have quite a few issues with digesting things.
Why I asked you, was it okay to talk about these things?
Oh, for sure.
And so I wanted to kind of give the listeners a sense about how and why I think about the things I do. Of course, let's be clear, if you have concerns or issues or medical concerns, please look at it with your medical provider and don't wait. Just this is all informational. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to give a special shout out to Cheryl Crenshaw and Dr. Angela Green. They probably hooked up by now talking, and Dr. Green's one of those young Black female physicians that has a passion for community and life. And Cheryl Crenshaw has just been a mammoth in discussing healthcare issues for African Americans. So I want to give a special shout out to them. And wanted to also thank Community Bank.
Community Bank of the Bay for sponsoring the Juneteenth, and we want to thank the City of Oakland for their sponsorship too.
Community Bank, I was impressed. Had a great presentation, which is part of what we're going to talk about as we talk about GI issues. And so I had to think about in the context of thinking about the apparatus of just eating. We, even before we put food in our mouth, we see it, we smell it, and the tasting and the chewing and the swallowing is a whole different issue. I guess what impressed me was I had to kind of start understanding how many processes are involved in just the act of chewing food, swallowing food, digesting food, and evacuating food.
And things that we take for granted.
Exactly. Totally. So I wanted to kind of have that kind of conversation and just kind of look at how we have to look at it clinically and the thought process is toward talking about what amounts to one of the things that allows us to maintain a pretty good quality of life, our ability to consume food and ingest it and use it to break it down for nutrients for our body's function in terms of providing energy. That's the whole idea of it. And you have to think of it as these uh, um, when you eat food, you can't uh, absorb it in that form. You have to chew it, you have to swallow it. So you have to have good teeth, a good oral cavity. It has to have a functioning pathway called the esophagus that travels down to the stomach. And so at any point in time, I started to realize that if anything goes wrong, a
Mhm.
blockage and a bolus of food that's too big, or uh,
So
a,
it's no longer gulping down the food and eating the food really, really fast. It's
yeah,
being intentional about chewing it up and making sure that it's
and it
chopped down.
well, because again, this is going to be a conversation because it gets you to the discussions about chewing food
It,
and
it makes you
having
think.
proper. How many people aren't having good digestion problems just because they are not able to chew the food at least 12 times a swallow, which is a suggestion, because what happens is that in your mouth, it's just not, you're not just chewing food, you're preparing the food to
Mm,
be
good.
swallowed and creating it as a nutrient mix, or they call it a bolus that travels down the throat and where it drops into the stomach and at that point starts to get broken down by hydrochloric acid and a number of enzymes that break the food down and make it absorbable in the larger small intestine. So as I got to thinking about this, I said, anatomy lesson. And because you have to think of this process as one of mechanical and chemical.
It's
The
good.
actual chewing of the food and then the components of uh, that break the food down, the gastrin, the pepsin, the with accessory organs, the gallbladder, the liver. Um, and so I think that for the first time in my clinical career, I had to think about how you say for granted we take that process
Hmm.
because for a number of Americans and human beings in general, it's a process. It's hard to chew food. It's hard to swallow it.
Because everything is so fast paced. So
Well,
you,
yeah,
or for me, I would say everything is so fast paced. So then you start wanting to eat your food fast
that's why they call it
because
fast
fast food.
food, right? Okay.
Okay.
So I think that I wanted to take a little step further and have these kinds of conversations.
Well, it's called
Uh,
medicine hour, so
yeah,
we're
yeah.
here.
you know, and I didn't want to make it as myopic as just talking about gastritis or abdominal pain or but kind of note some of the things that I thought were kind of interesting, have a conversation about ultimately some of the things that we should be doing in terms of diet changes and
And
why
we're
I'm
older now.
yeah, I believe we're in
I am.
plant based and less sugar
Oh
and less
boy.
salt
Oh boy.
and definitely the use of alcohol and tobacco changes digestion.
Mm.
And so we need to be kind of mindful of that as we process this. And this is another discussion around that it's unfortunate that we are so mired in a food pathology
Hmm.
that we have moved away from probably the things we did 6 million years ago, which was a
Hmm.
plant based diet. lots of water, uh, lots of activity, and I think that people are looking for a different kind of solution than the solution that comes from within themselves.
Hmm.
And I think that that is a real issue. And it kind of brought
So
me,
that leads to dieting and all
well,
that
not see, and
that
again,
stuff.
not dieting,
No,
a
okay. I'm just
change.
asking the
Oh
question.
yeah, not
I'm just
dieting,
asking the question.
because dieting seems to be, and for most parts, particularly for people of color, oppressive, and it is a
Hmm.
regimen as opposed to how to invoke changes in their lifestyle on an ongoing basis till they made changes
So that
to
should be the mindset.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly, because otherwise you rebel against regimentation.
That-
So that's why diets don't usually work.
mhm.
Food changes work, lifestyle changes work, behavioral changes work, but not just, um, not just. That's why a lot of the surgeries for
Mm.
uh, weight loss, within 5 years, the folks have returned to their original weight
Oh
because
wow.
the behavioral changes weren't involved. So now, before you're able to get these bypasses and procedures like this, they do a whole psychological evaluation
Mm.
on you,
Hmm.
and because it seems that substance abuse and addictive behaviors play a role in weight loss, weight gain, and it seems that there's a dysmorphia about body image, I think, that
Hmm.
plays a role. And this gets back to how people eat, what they consume, how they
Hmm.
consume it. You know, uh, a lot of body shaming, a lot
Yeah.
of
Especially
issue.
with the youth,
Yeah,
the young folks,
definitely, definitely. So I think that
unfortunately.
um, that was one of the things I thought about. And it got me because when we were at we brought up a community bank because they did an event,
And
uh,
end of the year celebration
celebration
of
in which you
the
spoke,
Juneteenth.
and
Yes.
it's kind of great to see that. And they did a preview of a movie
Mhm.
that was interesting in the fact that
White Jesus, Black Problems
yes,
with the
yeah,
Bay Area artist.
yeah.
Hmm.
And what was interesting
Xavier.
about it that he did a montage with montage, right? It's a whole kind of episode where he is in kind of white and black face, and my brain kind of like triggered on it because I'd seen it before, and then I realized it was a take on this psychiatrist called Franz Fanon. He was born in the Caribbean, in the island of Martinique, which is now the French colony. Uh, his father was a descendant of African slaves. He worked as a customs agent. His mother, Eleanor, was a Afro-Mation, and she would be considered to be white. So he was a product of a mixed marriage, and she worked as a shopkeeper. Um, and what shaped him was the death of his of both of them, including his younger sister. I bring it up because uh,
This is the gentleman that does
yeah,
the psychiatrist.
right,
Oh,
exactly.
okay. And
Yeah,
what was his name again?
France Fanon, spelled
France Fanon.
Frantz Fano. You might want to look him up. He is well written,
So
and
we have two different things here. We have the movie that you were discussing,
yes,
and inside of the movie they were having the white face and both faces, and that's
what?
what triggered you to think of this gentleman here.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I was in fact, it was out of an English class that I
Mm.
read it, and then there was a Black Studies class where this same material was kind of repeated. So,
Hmm.
kind of stuck in my mind. Um, and his family was basically middle class, and I'm getting to the point that a lot of the solutions for us are there. We just have to seek them out.
And that's what you were talking about earlier about it's inside of us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and we need to seek our mental health solutions from folks that are invested in our health as opposed to invested in our sickness. And so,
So isn't it important as a physician assistant, you, me as a Black woman, it is important that I hopefully, prayerfully get the opportunity to either have a Black physician, which is a woman or a man, doesn't matter to me. You all have seen bodies and issues and problems. So in my mental psyche, it is helpful that I see someone that is the same race as I, because to me, you will understand my body condition
well,
and my thoughts and
and in a perfect world, that would be the case.
Okay.
But I would say I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
So
Tell me why.
Well, this is why we bring up Mr. Fanon.
Okay.
Excuse me, Dr. Fanon. And he wrote a book called Black Skin, White Mask. And it was written in the style of kind of an autobiography, where she shares his own experiences while presenting a historical critique of the effects of racism and dehumanization inherent in situations of colonial domination. In other words, when the dominant culture is oppressing you, then they call all the shots. And in your survival mode, if you assimilate, you believe that will be that will save you, but in reality, it inflames them more because the issue is your elimination.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the colonialism part. You know, we could try to be the best we could. It's kind of like a full figure Black woman trying to look like Twiggy.
Oh Lord Jesus.
Right?
Well,
Okay, and
I
I'm just
used to be a
saying,
3-4.
well,
Not anymore.
I'm just saying the point of it is that you can't be what you can't be.
Absolutely.
And for me to think that, I'll, again, it's like having a law that says you can wear your natural hair. You need a law to say you can wear
Right.
your natural hair.
And
so why would you need a law like that if you were born that way? But in California, we need to have a law that said we can wear our natural hair. And certainly as an African clinician, I lost jobs because of my locks.
Yeah.
So that being said, this is a discussion around there's also Dr. Fanon thought it was a process of economic and internalized uh, uh, discussion around being inferior. We would never be as good as our enslavers. And that creates the conflict of something about who we think we are, our self-image, all those kind of things. Believe it or not,
Excuse me.
that relates to what we eat and how we eat things and what we think healthy is, what we think healthy isn't. You know, do I expect a full-figured Black woman who's had 2 children to have a body mass index of 25? I would not think so. But that's what the expectation is.
Right.
But the flip side of that is now that the African American female's body type is considered an issue around fertility, everybody wants y'all.
Hey.
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 It
The
is
truth
what
is the truth. So
it is what it is.
it
right?
is what it is.
Right.
And the reason why I brought up seeing a physician of color, um, we are talking about wellness and reparations and all that kind of stuff. So having an African American hub that will cater to our needs as African American people, just as well as other folks have their wellness centers and things like that.
And I think we have to draw the distinction
Of course, that's
between.
why we're having the conversation. And this is just our people. This is just our opinion. This does not have anything to do with Believe Radio. It doesn't have anything to do with the Eyes of the Conscious Soul, but it's just having real talk conversations.
I,
It is important that we, as a as hosts,
as
a community, make sure that we bring in topics and conversations and have conversations around the hard conversations.
right.
You know,
So I guess
I wasn't trying to go there. I was just saying in general.
But I guess my point is that we need different a different set of solutions.
Okay.
We can't use one size fits all.
Of course not.
So at one point, we should have if the community believes it's a hub versus a person-centered,
Care.
family conscious vision center that houses medical as well as psychiatric, and specifically is directed toward
Cultural
those
sensitive.
well those Africans that were assaulted in the 1816 project, and as well as this whole discussion
Joyce
around
Curry says.
yeah, huh?
Joyce
Joyce Curry, yeah.
She says what?
Well, she says that.
Competent.
Well, Joyce Security says a couple of things.
That sister's
Yeah.
deep. She real, okay?
But
pull her up, folks.
Yeah. But the
if you want to know about you,
the discussion is about how a chattel slavery system is this is what Frantz Fanon was talking about in terms of the entire system that was so oppressive that it controlled every aspect of your life to the fact that even if you tried to assimilate, it would not help you. And so we now need to understand that these systems still are ingrained in that kind of persona. And we need new visions and new looks at this. We can have a hub. We can have an African healthcare center. Because,
wouldn't they be the same?
Huh? No.
What's the difference?
No, because the hub says you come and go.
Okay.
And an African American healthcare center says you are here. We own you. We want you to become as a process in this center. And that's why we want to have.
So it's a family based.
Well, and also
community based,
and also person centered.
Okay.
As well as providing mental as well as medical components.
Got
and
it.
So one of the biggest issues in having to travel for a community is that if you tell me how you're going to get to my clinic, and I'll tell you if you get there. All right. And if you've got to go, and that's been the issue with our services to us, they've always been fragmented. You get the referral, you have to go to A to B to C to get to D out of here. So
if it was all in one space, your healthy, and holistic well-being will be, you can have that transformation.
Like, again, hub.
Okay.
All right. Versus home. Hub versus home. So I will plant myself on a home, and the studies and the data shows that Africans and people of color tend to do better in those kinds of facilities and clinics and settings. And we need to start appreciating that and not be ashamed of directing the care toward a group of people that where the care has been to anybody and everybody.
Absolutely.
So, and that is, again,
and our best practices for us.
Right. Exactly. And I think that, when you talk about healing circles, you talk about, educating providers around culture, not just culture system. This is where it gets to it. Anyone can take care of anyone, but will you take care of me well?
Watch it now. Can you say that again, please, sir?
Anyone can take care of anyone, but will you take care of me well? And another thing I said is health in their care?
Mm.
Are we getting health? Or we
And
just
tell
getting
me, explain the
just
health.
health is your assessment of me, the products you provided me in the healthcare setting.
Okay.
Care is understanding why I need those things.
And it's a big difference. That's why you have education is the best medicine,
Eh,
because you definitely make sure that
well,
your clients, or what do you call them? It would be community,
yeah,
your
well,
clients.
yeah, it's a,
You,
I think that one of the things we have to
I'm
understand.
just trying to say what you do with education is the best medicine in your practice. You practice what you preach.
Oh, I have to.
So it would not say what you preach, what you say. So
Yeah,
with that, when you say education is the best medicine, you're having your clients educate themselves
yeah,
like we're doing today,
right.
sharing this information. If you want to know about your disease, if you want to know about the things that you're going through or you may go through, educate yourself on it, is what you're
Exactly,
saying, and make
exactly.
sure that you get the proper care and what go in saying what you need.
Well, and also I think that we are now at a point where we know or we understand fat meat is greasy.
Okay, let's
You
keep this
know.
real now. Okay. Ah, well, all righty then.
So
This is what we do here on Believe Radio
I think that
with the eyes of the conscience.
you
So,
know we have to be okay with having these discussions,
absolutely.
and
There
because
can no longer be swept
under the
under the
rug,
rug,
yeah,
especially because of not only that we are dealing with our health, we're dealing with COVID-19, which is another component. We're dealing with the monkeypox, which is another. It's layers on layers on layers, and we just got through one. Now we're going through another, and you think we're supposed to be meant to? What are we
well,
supposed to do?
I think that
What are
that
you telling your clients
well, I
to do
mean,
because of all of the things
oh,
that's going on?
it's it's what you can do is what you can do.
Okay.
In other words, I think that particularly for a lot of my female patients, they try to take the world on their shoulders. They are the
Yes.
major caregiver, and it's almost like trying to carry a rock up a hill
Mm.
in their lives.
Hmm.
And so part of what I try to do is ensure that I always say the caregiver has to take care of themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, and to spend that time and take that time, whatever it is, maybe a walk or maybe a movie or maybe just something for themselves,
Hmm.
because
It's not selfish. It's
it's self care. It's
self
care,
care,
self care.
mental well being. Because
Um,
what happens to women a lot. I can say this because I'm a woman too. Woman too. So
even even
look, I'm
even after trip,
58.
even after the trip.
Okay.
Okay.
But what we do is because, like you said, we take care and we do a lot. We want to make sure women know that it's not being selfish, like you just said. You have to take out time for you.
Yeah. That's why it's important that you travel. I mean, it's important
Mm.
that you did, took some self care for you. This is it's I think that we have to be okay with giving ourselves time to be okay
Absolutely.
and not feel. I think that's what happened with the pandemic. The
Mm.
pandemic said that maybe working a 40-hour week isn't the way to do things,
Okay.
and
Because a lot of
you know,
the companies are going to 4-day
yeah,
work
oh
schedule,
yeah,
and
yeah,
having their
yeah.
uh um their team off on
Yeah,
Fridays.
it's quality of life issues now,
Yeah.
and it's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So, how much can you drive the train? How much can you spend in the circle? Chasing whatever it is you're trying to chase.
Absolutely.
And so, gets back to how we eat.
Mm-hmm.
Gets back to digestion. Gets back to gas.
And
Gets
but
back to all this
before
stuff.
we go there, I
Yes.
definitely want to say, if you're feeling some type of way, and we know that your mental well-being is important, Nami Costa has many workshops and different circles that you can call them on. And the number is 925 9420767. And then you can go on their website, which will bring up, we have an African American Uplift program that supports African American people with peer support,
Mm.
workshops, circles, and just our
Sport.
healthy well being. So you can go on the NAMI website at www.namicatracosta.org. And we had Miss Gigi Crowder on,
Okay.
the executive director of NAMI Catracosta, maybe like 4 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so we just want to give kudos to her, and her organization is about education, support, and advocacy. So please, please, it's just not about us.
True.
It's about the whole community. So we just want to make sure that Cal Hope is connected with them, and that we, as I said, the African American Uplift Program is there to support and educate and give peer to peer support. And then it also has connections for Chinese and for Latino, and there's all kinds of network that you can do. The education and community is a monthly speaker series,
Hmm.
cash course, crash course in our own voice, a faith network, community outreach communities, and education providers. So information for 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 NAMI CC. So please pull them up if you have any family members that's dealing with any mental issues or challenges. And not only that, for your connecting with your tribe. Go ahead,
Mm.
sir.
Oh well. And so, as I got to think about this whole issue around GI issues and how intertwined our mental health is intertwined with our digestive health, and the thing I like people to think about is homeostasis, the balance. How can we continue to create a balance in ourselves? Because when we create it in ourselves, we create it in our families, we create it in our families, we create it in our communities, and it's an ongoing piece. And probably GI issues are one of the bigger things I think was just a lack of balance,
Mm. And the
and
GI stands for?
gastrointestinal
Okay.
system. And so the common problems tend to be abdominal discomfort, bloating,
Mm-hmm.
pain or cramps, difficulty swallowing. And one of the big red signs is vomiting blood or rectal bleeding. You want to get that checked out. Um, uh, the There's some interesting statistics. I'm this. I'm a. I can, I mean, I'm not a nerd. Yeah, I am a nerd kind of guy. And so there was 10 facts about the digestive system. It says, and this is again from a lot of sources. It says your food doesn't require gravity to reach your stomach.
Hmm.
Your esophagus, that's the tube when you swallow, has muscles that are resilient enough to send your food down to your stomach, whether you are sitting. And it's interesting. The your gastrointestinal tract is not just a mix of chemicals. It's a mix of mechanical in terms of muscles and the esophagus does a thing called peristalsis that it's a wave issue where it brings down the food to the stomach. Now, imagine if you had that esophagus was diseased from some sort of
Mm.
neurological disease process that you couldn't swallow or it stopped right in the middle of swallowing. And so it's the kind of things that we just take for granted, but
Yeah.
understand that the
The
existence of
importance
sport.
of its function.
And so the stomach is not the center of digestion. When you think of the digestive process, you always think of your stomach. But your digestive tract starts at your mouth and ends at your anus. So
So it's true. What you feed yourself, it comes out. Is that
true.
correct? Okay.
And one thing I thought was interesting, it said the small intestines is really not small. It's
Mm.
about 23 to 24 feet in the average person.
Wow.
It's larger than the large intestine,
Oh my
which is
goodness.
we think of as the colon. Um, and uh, uh, and in the colon in that case in terms of the larger chest, it's wider, uh, and there are a variety of stomachs among animals. While stomachs play a major part in digesting your food, it's different for animals.
Mm.
The smell from passing gas comes from bacteria in your stomach. The you are what you eat, right?
Yeah, right. That's what I was trying to say
the,
earlier. You are
the, the digestive
truly what you
system
eat.
has more cases of cancer than any other organ in the body, and that makes sense
Mm.
because of the consumption issue. Oral,
And all the stuff that
pharyngeal,
the pesticides and things that they're putting on the food.
tobacco, alcohol, common
Ah.
causes of oral and throat and lung cancer.
Mm.
So
So is
again,
it important? And I want to go back, not to stop you, go back to what the film was about. Was when he was doing his musical. It was music, and it was on an actual farm because he has a farm too. So growing our foods is important.
yeah, back to Mr. Fernandez just to close. He said um, he considered the violent overtones to be of two categories. He says the violence of a colonizer through annihilation of body, psych, culture among along with the demarcation of space, and the second, the defiance of the colonizers as an attempt to retrieve dignity in case of self and history. So it's this constant struggle
Mm.
between the enslaver versus the enslaved,
Hmm.
and you see it today.
Hmm.
And so one of the discussions around African American psyche is how we deal with that struggle because it's going to be constant. It's never going to go away.
Well,
You
we
know,
deal every day with
and that's
micro and
well
macro
aggressions.
aggressions.
Nami, definitely, yeah.
Okay,
And so yeah,
yes, every day of our lives,
oh,
and it's crazy that at this point in time, knowing this, it's more heightened in my awareness,
yeah.
um, until we start talking about it, really talking about it, and then talking about it at work and talking about it in school. I am, for me, experiencing it before. It didn't dawn on me that some of the things, those are some of the things I was experiencing. But now I'm noticing it more.
Well, I
And
think
yesterday was really, I was like, really?
I
I'm like,
I
okay.
think that
And that mess with your mental health
yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, I think that for a long time, uh, Africans in America had to deal with not being good enough,
Hmm.
and uh, throughout our historical concept, you see those a Jackie Robinson,
Hmm.
Mary McLeod Bethune, a Sojourner Truth, that were not just good enough, they were better.
Right.
And still, history paints this portrait. And it's a portrait that was painted by not by our hands, by someone else's hands.
Hmm.
And as long as other folks tell our story, then we will have no story to tell.
And that's why we have the medicine hour. It's about telling our story, trying to, excuse me, to empower African
Yeah.
American people about their health. And
Uh,
that's the reason why the medicine hour came about.
well, I think that we have to start realizing that, you know, biblically, you think so shall you act, right?
Hmm.
So for a long time, we've had to feel bad about our thinking,
Hmm.
feel bad about microaggressions. I would submit to you that they've been happening all the time, but you're just aware of them now. You
Hmm.
know,
Oh, I know
and
it's been happening for a
and
long time.
but I think there's a realization that
Mhm.
that you're just not having this thought about someone following you in the back of a store or counting out your change or
Or
what.
won't let you get something out of you going in there to purchase something. They want to walk it to the counter for you. I'm like,
Yeah,
excuse me, you don't have to walk. I said, oh, I won't be back in this store again.
but again, it's kind of like, well, I name any major chain and go in and everything's locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is locked up. I mean, it's kind of like I don't go in because I just don't like it. It just is.
Right.
It's just uncomfortable for me. But
Mm-hmm.
but that's the commerce the society has in our community,
Mm-hmm.
and that the real issue is that why do people have to take the stuff in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
You
Come
know,
on now. You
I
always talk
mean,
about food,
I mean,
clothing, and
oh yeah, of
shelter.
course, of course, of course. These are
So
these are these are
a
not
lot of folks has been
the discussion of homelessness and substance
yes.
abuse have not been an issue until the colors changed.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that I'll point to Obama looking at we looking at the sentencing laws about a year or so before the end of his presidency. Presidency, I said, "Oh, this is great. This brother's got it going on, because 90% of the folks incarcerated are African American."
Uh-huh.
He wasn't looking at that. And the judges were starting to see their uncles, their nephews, their
Mm.
aunts, their uncles come in for the same drug charges they were giving African Americans 30s and 40 years for. So now there's drug court, and there's you get a whole safe house, clean and sober, all these
And those
things.
derived out of
Right,
not
exactly.
for us, but
Of
for
course, of
someone
course, of
else.
course.
Okay.
So the point of it is that
So you're
our
like in a catch 22.
well, our community has never been valued, you know,
That's the
and
truth.
so within that context, if you're not valued, then you give you less and expect you to do more,
Absolutely.
So I think I guess locally, I think it's unconscionable that they're closing schools in Oakland.
Hmm.
Why would you do that? Oh, well, we don't have enough money. Then we need to do really, really good about the schools that we have. They have everything because you keep closing
But
them.
that's a fib. I'm not gonna say
A fib.
a fib. I would tell my kids, don't say lie. You say fib. You're sending monies elsewhere. You're going to the moon for billions of dollars, and you can use some of that money to help the homeless
Well,
here
again,
and people, your citizens here.
again,
What's the problem?
I think that a lot of the things that we are talking about are the problems within the problems.
Hmm.
So, from a structural standpoint, if it's always been
System.
sister wise, always been oppressive, always been less, always lack of resource, always in the freeways that are built through our communities. The medical services that say you can only have so much. The mental health issue is an issue about lack of capacity.
Hmm.
You know, and America is uncomfortable with mental health, so we have less providers. And I think that COVID just gave an opportunity for a lot of people to get out of whatever they didn't want to get out because they didn't want to be exposed to those
Hmm.
people or these people or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
So I think that there is where you know the food, clothing, and shelter issue, and particularly we have a lot of gastric distress, a lot of stomach pain, a lot of belly aching,
Hmm.
and it comes from just the environment also. You talk about the food, you talk about the poor quality of food, poor water now. So you mix all those things together, and you're not going to have a healthy community.
It's something that you said, talked about the water, because going on vacation, going to Hawaii, going, well, for a retreat, the water over there is just blue and beautiful and inviting. I was riding in looking at our water and I was like, oh my God, it doesn't, I
I
wouldn't want
mean,
to go in there.
we're an industrialized nation. We
Mm.
and unfortunately or fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of the commerce in Oakland had a toxic taint to it,
Mm.
and um, our community suffered in terms of asthma, in terms of heart disease, in terms of cancer, in terms
West Oakland
of course,
in the back.
so and just quality,
Yeah.
so and then you add on an oppressive layer, and then you add on it, all things you can add on to a layered community, and we survived it. We're still here, we're still functioning, we're still moving forward. So
Thank God.
kudos to us, as
Yes.
a community.
Well, having this deep conversation and
Okay.
and really enjoying ourselves. We want to thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel and music station. Please tune in and use Believe Radio as your inspirational well being.
Mhm.
With that, the Eyes of the Conscious Soul brings to you every first Saturday of the month the Cafe Le Bleu Lounge, where there are 15 to 45-minute segments called The Corner. Each corner has a blueprint that is unique of its own. So we always ask you to relax and vibe out to the cool sounds, fireside chats, and be inspired by affirmations and inspirational messages. The first corner is Artist Talk. The second corner is Why I Dream. And the third corner is She Who Believes Takes Off the Mask. This second Saturday of the month is the Medicine Hour with Mr. George Pearson, Bachelor in Science, PA, physician assistant, and the host of the Medicine Hour.
Okay.
I am the co host. This is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. Topics we cover: health issues and concerns. We talk about healthy eating habits. We talk about education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness. And it allows us to practice healthy eating habits and knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Every third Saturday of the month, we have Education is the Best Medicine, hosted by the founder and producer, Mr. George Pearson. Education is the Best Medicine is a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, which is a community based health, education, advocacy based, and resource based organization that uses public media, resources, radio, newspapers, and church based community health fairs to provide information and education. We believe vision is the art of seeing things yet unseen and bringing light to a very dark world. Every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the kitchen table hosted by your very own Barbara A. Howard, aka Sister B. Mellow, founder and producer of Education. Excuse me, not Education is the Best Medicine. The
Little
Eyes of the
bit,
Conscience
little bit,
Soul.
little bit,
Look,
little bit, little bit.
okay, at the kitchen table, we have real talk conversations, which we're having today. We also have that on the Medicine Hour. We bring in individuals, organizations, community leaders, business owners from around the Bay Area to across the globe who are making a difference in their community. We also like to thank our sponsors. Education is the Best Medicine. Pastor Larry Austin with Elevate Gospel Ministries. Thank you again for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour gospel inspirational music station. Again, we have the Medicine Hour. Thank you, Mr. Pearson, for always bringing us what we need, giving us the information that we need to empower, to educate, and to hopefully bring wellness to our communities.
So,
Go ahead, sir.
really important question. How was the trip?
Look, the trip was great.
Where'd you go?
Well, I went to well, I went to Hawaii, and
Okay.
I'll leave it
Okay.
like that.
All
And
right.
then I went to the Essence, enjoyed myself for my
Okay.
birthday
All right.
celebration.
That's
And
cool.
that was my relaxation from
Okay.
the hard work that we did
Okay.
with the Oakland's 15th annual Juneteenth celebration.
Yeah.
We had a ball,
Well,
and
cool
I'm
then.
so grateful and thankful for the team, Yay team, and
right.
you all do an outstanding job. Please continue to check out our website. It is www.bhbrilliantminds.org. We have some upcoming events that's going to be taking place in November. We normally have a women's retreat. And then this September, late September, we're going to hopefully do a financial literacy workshop to empower our youth. And then we're working on a youth conference.
Okay.
Yeah. So stay
Well,
tuned for that information. But again, you are tuned into Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. And you are tuned into the Eyes of the Conscious Soul. And we are here on every second Saturday of the month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. with the medicine hour. Go ahead, Mr. Pearson.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, again, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to thank.
I caught COVID. I caught COVID. Didn't I got away from it for the whole 2 years. Caught COVID. Couldn't believe it. And it's like, what? But I thank
Hey,
God that I had taken the
vaccine.
yes, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, you
Because
would have
at
got
one point,
sicker.
yeah,
You been sicker.
it really took my sister under and my daughter.
Yeah,
I felt really, really sorry for them. But when they found out I had it, it wasn't too bad,
yeah. It was
but I'm grateful.
yeah. This is again. We're not. This is not over yet. Yeah, and now
And
they're talking about living
COVID
with
is
it.
not going anywhere.
No,
Is this going to not as a physician? I wanted to ask you: is this going to be? This is just another
this is
form of
a new normal.
a new normal
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us.
and I think that because we had so many few people being vaccinated,
Mm,
here's the point. As I said before, I will take off my mask when the kids between uh, 6 months and 4 years are vaccinated,
mm.
because that's a group of folks, and I'll say it again, that are most likely to get sick with this new variant. So that's why we're vaccinating them. We're not vaccinating for folks like me in their late 60s. You know, you're vaccinating for that baby that hasn't created an immune system strong enough to deal with something like this if they get sick.
And so, what do you say to folks still today that is afraid and the theory of you remember they put
Yeah,
um, not say the
it was
theory, it was the
it
truth.
was transistors, it was everything. They put the kitchen sink in these vaccines now, I guess.
Okay, and what inspired me to go ahead and take the vaccine is that you shared with me at one point in time is that the technology these days is more
Yeah,
advanced
yeah,
than it was
yeah.
back then because back then it would take years for the vaccine for you to create a vaccine. But now, as you were saying, technology gives us the advantage to
To be honest,
okay.
the list of vaccines that's in the pipeline now were created about 10 years ago,
Oh, okay.
and if you will look at your taxes,
Mm,
they pushed a whole bunch of benefits through for these companies now that are providing the structure for the new set of vaccines. So um, just thinking ahead of the curve, and again, California was one of those states that promoted this kind of advanced technology. It probably saved a lot of people's lives. I think it did,
mm.
and I think that we just have to get ready for the next. Now it's monkeypox. We have to get ready for the next thing, which
Whew.
is what that is. And so it's just a
So,
globalization
what
of the world.
is monkeypox?
It's a virus that's transmitted from skin to skin contact,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it tends to create ulcerations. And it's, again, although primary set of folks seem to be men having sex with men, it's a skin based issue, so it can be transferred. So the thing about it, they have a vaccine for it, and so a lot of folks and folks that are in the risk group are getting the vaccine, and it's just another thing that we have to deal with. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And luckily, there's a treatment for it or in a prevention for it. So that's
And
it.
I'm looking at these the things that we're going through. It's not allowing us now to us as African people. We love to hug people. We love to hug them and we love to kiss. And it's like it's taken away the wanting to embrace
Well,
and touch another human being. It's
it's the globalization of the society, and with
mm,
that, with great power comes great responsibility. So
okay. Say that again.
I said, with great power comes great responsibility. And so we're at a point now where, again, I think that this whole discussion back to vaccines and being vaccinated, if people think that could be their nephew or their grandchild or
Right.
someone like that that would get sick from this new variant because the problem with this B4 and B5 variant is that these
It's a
vaccines
B
don't.
what? I thought I heard of the B4.
It's a B4 and a
A
B5 variant.
B5. What
Yeah,
is the B5?
they're all variants from the original COVID issue where again folks haven't gotten vaccinated and these things get a chance to
Multiply?
they get a
Or
chance
what
to
they do?
they put
Mutation.
they mutate to live,
That's
so
that's what now I'm not a scientist. I don't but it's crazy how things can be created to keep living.
well no
It's
that's
not crazy. I'm just
well
saying it fascinates
so
me. Maybe let me say that. Let me use
that's
the right
how
word.
well malaria for us as Africans,
Mm.
although it puts us in a situation with sickle cell.
Hmm.
Without us having that, we don't survive.
Mm.
So again, these are things that the body has to adapt to in the best way that it can. And for a small percentage of the folks that don't adapt, they develop the disease. So
Mm.
it's not ongoing. It's how we going to adapt to less water. I mean, and what that means for us and the planet. And
So
so
global warming is
real.
real.
Yeah, it is real.
We
Yeah.
hear this. This is what.
Well, people that don't want to accept that there is definitely a change in weather, go outside now, see how hot it is. It's a
Mhm.
different kind of heat.
Yes.
So that's because when you don't have the rain, we have dry weather conditions, then it creates that environment for what we have now as fires, which makes the uh particularly in California, smoky.
Mhm.
So you're getting that that smoke travel across the state. It just doesn't dissipate. It travels across the state.
Mhm.
And so uh, I think it's kind of cavalier. I mean, and it's that we have to be more proactive, like how we eat.
Mhm.
What we eat. Are you just eating, or are you selective in what you're eating?
Mm.
And how is that? How is what you're going to consume not causing you problems, and is more of a benefit? I'm doing more juice shakes. And with um, an emphasis on stuff like kale and spinach and um, uh, definitely uh, spring mix vegetables, that kind of thing, blended. A little bit of juice, maybe a banana. You know, you have to start changing what you're consuming and how you're consuming. Yeah, you can have a steak,
Mhm.
but you have to digest the steak.
Mhm.
And if it's a poor quality of meat, don't do you too well. It may be just a change in the quality of what you're consuming. A little bit
Mhm.
more expensive, definitely more expensive now. So it tends to be when there's times when there are lean times, people tend to eat leaner, which makes them fatter because it's usually more junk food, more stuff that's you get 10 for a box and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So, but
And
that's how we survive. So
right, I was
yeah,
getting ready to say
yeah,
because a mother
yeah,
that has 5 children, I,
exactly. So where are our priorities?
yeah.
How do we reset? For example,
Mhm.
Wick and
Even one child now.
oh god, yeah.
Jesus
I
Christ.
remember Wick at one time did all orange juice, and the kids were gaining weight, and so the
Mm.
producer, why you getting the kids gaining so much weight? Because they're drinking all this orange juice because there's a lot of sugar in it.
Mm.
So things that are supposed to help folks sometimes end up make them at risk for diabetes. And again, it's kind of like cost, poverty, the
Mhm.
cost of these things, the
Mhm.
cost of feeding 3 to 4 kids.
Absolutely.
So how can you force people to have children, but you don't want to help them take care of them? Kind of sad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very much so.
yeah.
Wow.
And again, I want to put another shout out to uh, Dr. Angela Green and Miss Cheryl Crenshaw, two of my favorite people in the world. I wanted to welcome Barbara back and the
Oh,
family,
yes.
and
We're
so
grateful to
we're
be
gonna be
back.
back
Well,
on.
we have about 14 minutes
Yeah,
left. 14 minutes left.
we
Yes, we
do. Oh
do.
my, okay. So
Hmm.
here, there's a
Time flies when you're having fun. And
so
sharing education is the best medicine.
yeah,
The medicine hour. Well,
it
I
says,
just want to say, you all, along with having serious conversations and topics, we still like to laugh and have fun because laughter is good for the soul. And I am so grateful to the Lord for me being able to be here.
yep, yep, yep,
So
yep, yeah.
I'm honored.
Well, I don't want people to forget that the digestive system is responsible for breaking down foods you eat so that you can absorb vital nutrients. That's
Hmm.
what this is all about. And just think about it from the time you eat something to the time you are sitting on the bathroom stool trying to get it out of
Oh
you.
Lord. Oh boy.
Where did it
Crying
go? How
crying to
did it
the
come? Because again, some of the big things are constipation,
hmm
our stomach pain, and I always try to give the solution before I go. Again, it's a plant-based diet. It's less sugar, it's less salt, it's more exercise, it's more water, it's less stress, it's more chewing your food.
hmm some
It's more
simple things.
more staying happy.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Laughter.
like, oh
We have
God,
so many people, even though we have so many things that's going on in this world that is not, it can
stress you out.
stress you out. You still gonna have to find a way, because you said everything that we need, which the Lord says too, is inside of us.
Hmm.
So with that, laughter, it sends off more. What is it in your head, in your
Mm.
brain?
Or traveling to Essence Festival.
That too. That too, having some fun,
Yo.
having a good old time. But what is it that it sends off more
Endorphins.
endorphins?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's different ways to allow those endorphins versus drinking and smoking. You can still get that pleasure. Is that the pleasure? The
Well,
endorphins. Which one is that?
this is endorphins, yeah.
The endorphins that's in the
With
brain.
pain, it's also pain. So endorphins
Okay.
are pain and pleasure.
So we're basically saying through the medicine hour, there are other ways to get those things firing in your brain, and you just don't have to use alcohol or anything like that to get you in a happy space.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
cognitive behavioral therapy techniques work, and
hmm
relaxation techniques works, and visualization techniques work.
hmm
Behavior activation. These are all, just look them up. They're real good techniques for relaxation. And again, if you're not relaxed, your food has a hard time to digest.
and a lot of people don't. It doesn't make that connection,
No,
and for you to make that connection, for that's what the medicine hour is about, is allowing the things that you're sharing. People can go and read it, they can pull it up themselves. It's not just, you're not talking off the top of your
right?
head. It's research and it's information that you do, that this out there.
Yeah.
But it allows us to educate ourselves, to empower ourselves, to um, look at different ways of living now. Since we have to live with these other things, there's different ways we have to enjoy ourselves. There's different ways we have to now start thinking about our healthy well-being.
Well, and I think that that's the whole idea, and that's the problem, is that you have to think about it. It
Say
just
that
doesn't.
again.
I mean, you have to think about it. It just doesn't happen. You
Mm-hmm.
know, let's say what I always say, that he who fails to plan plans to fail. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I think that
Is it the
our
five
parents,
P's?
our parents
Yeah.
were planners. They had to pan out things. They
Absolutely.
had a bunch of kids and minimal resources, and so they had to plan.
They had to
And then
plan.
so, I
Fail to
mean,
plan,
plan to fail.
plan to fail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I mean, I think that um, also we have to embrace that there's been a lot of mental, physical, and spiritual damage to
Yeah.
Africans' psyches,
Mhm.
African American psyche.
And it's called in our generational curses.
Uh,
So we have to be aware. I would say, if you want to do more research on yourself and your family, you may want to go and do some research on some of the things that the family had
Yeah.
trauma making it through, so that way you know about it, and you can then start. If you have somebody that had breast cancer, you had someone that had heart failure, if you may want to go back and trace that information and learn about it, that way you can do proactive, like you were saying, now get ahead of the game,
Yeah.
because it's in your, what did you say,
It's genes.
in your genes,
It's in your DNA.
in your DNA.
And I think that part of the issue is but environment makes it so. So if you already have these things placed in your DNA and you place yourself in the environment,
It
you can't.
activates.
Yeah, of
It
course
wakes it
it
up.
has to. It
Wakes
has
it
to.
up.
So
So people, we're just saying some of the things that you're dealing with is just not. It's just not happening. You're not crazy.
right, exactly,
You're not crazy.
exactly,
Which they want
exactly,
us to think sometimes that we're
exactly,
nuts, and it's like,
exactly.
no.
And I think that there has been a cognitive dissonance
Okay, that's
about
Joyce
Shakuri,
Curry.
right?
Okay.
It's been like looking at us, the society has said that it's not our fault that you are the way you are.
Wow.
And so it's almost like you have to dehumanize me, cognitive dissonance, in order to justify your behavior toward me.
Say that again, please, sir.
Well, I mean, you have to, America, unfortunately, looks at us as stepchildren that need to go away. Unfortunately, we're so intertwined in the history and in its creation that you can't. And one of the issues around history, advanced race theory, all the things says that the historical context in which these things are happening, or they happen, have a direct relationship to why you are who you are and why you run things the way you do. It's almost like an entitlement level, right? I can steal from a government office papers that
Come
should go
on.
nowhere.
If it was black, it would be an issue and a problem.
I think
you couldn't even get out the door.
I think the point of it is that
with any boxes.
He is so cavalier with people's lives because a lot of the stuff that he carries has a lot of connections and what the guy was saying, they could re-engineer it back to find out where it came from. So at every point in time, they could hurt somebody from that, whoever had that information.
My.
So, and the fact that,
and always saying that it's a lie. This lie, this putting this out there as though we are nuts.
What I said, we live in a society now where lie is the truth and truth is a lie.
Right. But he's been operating, a lot of folks, just not him, but a lot of folks been operating in, it's like the truth is not the truth anymore.
So what do you think about a discussion around nationalism and that we are against the world
and dictatorship
and we are the only, and this is who we are, you will not replace me, and all those kinds of things? Because in reality, the fact that you have to consider him taking those items as a common thief, because.
But if it was anybody else, you would label them as a common thief.
Well, my point is that you can't have two sets of rules, and that's what folks like Liz Cheney are saying. That's what we've been saying. You can't have two sets of rules. So if you think this information is on his highest level, he needs to be charged because he had no business taking it out, and he said that. So anyway, another discussion.
Right. On another day.
That'll make your stomach hurt.
That'll make Oh my God. You're absolutely right. We got 4 minutes to go. That will make your stomach. And some of the things, I'm so glad that we're laughing because, as we said before, for your mental well-being, some of that stuff you just have to laugh at. You have to what?
I think that what could have been hidden is just coming out in the light.
And it always says in the Bible, what's done in the dark will come to the light.
Bring light to a very dark world.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So
say that again.
Bring light to a very dark world. So
bringing light to a very dark world.
We need to understand this and not be fooled. Because I think that you can, like I say that you give me Juneteenth, but you want to take away my right to vote.
Ooh.
So I think that you cannot continue to have these opposites,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of like uh, raining in my face, and calling it something else. But it's okay.
Wow. Well, well, you heard it here on Believe
Yeah.
Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Today, you have tuned into the Eyes of the Conscious Soul, and we have the Medicine Hour. So, Mr. George Pearson is the host, and I am his co host. And what we believe is this is where we believe building a better tomorrow starts with us. The topics we cover is health issues and concerns, healthy eating habits, education, financing, and politics in the African American community. We believe taking care of our temple, mind, and spirit is essential to having mental wellness, healthy eating habits. We learn that today. And knowing that healthy thinking leads to a healthy way of living. Mr. Pearson, you have 2 minutes, so you want to close us out?
Well,
Oh, I want to thank the sponsors
okay.
Pastor Larry Austin, Elevate Gospel Ministries.
Um, I was reading Barbara Bates, and it's one of the Sentinel books on physical education. On physical exam, and it's one of our primers. It's one of the books that I follow to learn how
Mm-hmm.
to do examination. And it says, in the first, in the GI tract, it says, "How's your appetite?" Yeah, that's a good starting part.
Mm-hmm.
And it leads to other questions like, indigestion, nausea, vomiting, not wanting to eat. And the complaint of GI issues is one about not just the physical, the mechanical, as well as the chemical. It's a discussion around emotional and psychological issues that change your concept about food, how you look at food, and what you will ultimately consume. There are a number of things that happen with people, but commonly it's constipation, it's abdominal pain, it's bloating, it's all these things. You have to look at consumption. And when you look at consumption, then you can look at, genetic factors and really kind of peer down to maybe some common causes for your GI discomfort or bloating or gas or rectal bleeding or whatever. Yeah, I say, in other words, you got to become a little bit more conscious and get evaluated and start changing your lifestyle.
And on that note, we're going to say good night. Thank you for tuning in to Believe Radio, which is a 24-hour inspirational and gospel music station. Good night.
Yeah.